Very good morning, children. Once again, welcome back to the online teaching in geography. Hope all are fine, isn't it? Since we are locked down for so many weeks at homes, you might have got sufficient time to revise the previous chapters. We don't have that much time to waste, so we have to utilize the time. So you might have revised the chapters, the lessons that we have already completed. In the chapter first, we have already discussed about India, its size and location, where India is located, what is the size of India, what is the population, how many states are there, and also union territories, which is the most populous state, or which is the largest state in India in size, who are our neighboring countries, and what is the significance of India's central location, etc. we have discussed in the first chapter. Then in the second chapter we have discussed India's physical features. We have already learned what is plate tectonics. There are three movements are there: plate movements, convergent boundary, divergent boundary, and transform boundary. Again, we have learned how Himalayas were formed. Once upon a time, India was the part of Gondwana lands, etc., etc. We studied. Again, we discussed what are the physical features of India, how India physically divided. So there are 6 divisions: Himalayan mountains, northern plains, peninsular plateau, coastal plains, the islands, the deserts. So we have in detail we have discussed what are these features, what are its significance, etc., etc. Okay. Now we are going to start the new chapter, that is drainage. What is meant by drainage? The drainage means the river system of an area. How many rivers are there in an area? Or how many rivers are there in a state? Or how many rivers are there in our country? Or how many rivers are there in a district? Okay, it is known as drainage. Again, here 2-3 terms are there. What is meant by drainage basin? Drainage basin means the area drained by a single river system. That means how much area a river flows. That is known as drainage basin. Or how many kilometers, how much distance a river flows. It is known as drainage basin. Again, another term we are going to associate with this chapter is water divide. What is meant by water divide? Any elevated area. What is meant by elevated area? Raised area. Any elevated area such as a mountain that divides two drainage basins. In simple words, we can say in between two mountains a river is flowing. It is known as water divide. Understood? Okay, children. Here now we are going to discuss. There are 2 types of rivers are found in India. They are Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. Okay, children. Then I am going to explain what are the important features of Himalayan rivers. By the word itself, we can understand that most of the Himalayan rivers are perennial. What's meant by perennial? The rivers have water throughout the year. Pura saal. Throughout the year, we have sufficient water. That is why the Himalayan rivers are known as perennial rivers. Okay, children? Again, another thing associated with the Himalayan rivers is most of the Himalayan rivers receive water from rainfall as well as melted snow. We know that Himalayas, especially the Himalayan mountain, is covered with ice. Okay, in the summer season, what is happening? the ice will be melted and the rivers will be full of water. Okay, that is why most of the Himalayan rivers receive water not only from rainfall but also from melted snow. Again, another thing is that they have long courses. That means it travels a long distance from their source to the river. We know that at the end, most of the Himalayan rivers joins Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. So from Himalaya to Bay of Bengal or from Himalaya to Arabian Sea, it travels, or these rivers travel a long distance. Okay. Another thing is that they perform intensive erosional activities. Okay, you might have studied about soil erosion. What is the soil erosion? Means at the time of rainfall or along with the rainwater, the soil also brought down and it is deposited in the plains. It is one of erosional activities and carry a lot of silt and sand. That means along with the water, a lot of soil, a lot of silt and sand is brought down. Okay, these are the important features of Himalayan rivers. So most of the Himalayan rivers are perennial. Perennial means they have water throughout the year. Again, they have long courses. Okay, that means they travel long distances. Again, they receive water from rainfall as well as melted snow. Okay, now we will discuss about the peninsular rivers. Okay, most of the peninsular rivers are seasonal. What is really seasonal? By the word itself we can understand. The rivers have water only in certain seasons because their flow is dependent on rainfall. At the time of rainfall, at the time of rainy season, the rivers are filled with water. But at the time of heavy summer, at the time of summer, what happens? There will be very less water in the rivers. That is why they are known as seasonal rivers. During the dry season, we know that even the large rivers are reduced into channels. That it becomes so small because it doesn't have, the rivers do not have that much water. Okay. Again, another thing is that they have shorter and shallower courses. What do you mean shorter? That means the most of the peninsular rivers travel only a short distance. Okay, only 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers like that. Then it does not have that much depth. That means they have shallow water. Shallow water means the rivers have very less water. Shallow means less in depth. Okay. Another thing is that most of the peninsular rivers originate in the Western Ghats. You know, there are Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. Western Ghats means that side. See, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, that side is known as Western Ghats. So most of the peninsular rivers originate in the Western Ghats and flow towards Bay of Bengal. Okay, children, these are the important things about two types of rivers, Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. Okay, now we are going to discuss, we are going to study very detailed about the Himalayan rivers. Which are the important Himalayan rivers? Okay, Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra are the three important Himalayan rivers. Now we study the first and most important river is Indus river system. The river Indus rises in Tibet. We know that Tibet, where is Tibet? Tibet is located in between India and China. Isn't it? So it is a part of, it is a Himalayan country. It is a Himalayan kingdom, Tibet. It rises in Tibet near Manasarovar lake. There is a lake known as Mansarovar. Okay, there it starts. It originates in Tibet near Mansarovar lake. Okay, another thing is that it enters India in the Ladakh district of Jammu and Kashmir. You know, actually, it flows. It starts from Tibet and flows and enters India in Jammu and Kashmir in the Ladakh district. Okay, it has many tributaries. What is many tributaries? Many small rivers that join the main river. That is not tributaries. There are many small rivers are there that join the main river. So important tributaries are Satluj, Beas, Ravi, Chenab and Jhelum. Okay, these are the important tributaries of river Indus. Then again, these tributaries join Indus at Mithankot in Pakistan. Actually, Mithankot is the name of a place in Pakistan. Actually, we know that it flows through India and again it enters Pakistan. Okay, so these six tributaries join Indus at Mithankot in Pakistan. Okay, it eventually joins Arabian Sea. So Indus, at the end, the river Indus joins Arabian Sea, and it has the length of 2,900 kilometers. Okay, it can be asked for 1 mark. What is the length of river Indus? 2,900 kilometers. Okay, now along as part of this Indus water system, there is another 1 more question can be asked. What is meant by Indus Water Treaty? Okay, it is an agreement signed between India and Pakistan regarding the utilization of river water. Okay, according to this agreement, India can use only 20% of Indus river water. Understood? It is known as Indus River. Actually, it was signed in 1960. The Indus River Treaty was signed in the year 1960 between India and Pakistan. According to this treaty, India can use only 20% of river water. Okay. Now, children, I think that you might have understood about river Indus. It originates in Tibet near Mansarovar Lake. Again, it enters India in the Ladakh district of Jammu and Kashmir. Again, it has many tributaries like Satluj, Beas, Chenab, Jhelum, etc. the important tributaries, and these tributaries join Indus in the at Mithankot in Pakistan. Okay, children. Again, we have studied about Indus Water Treaty. It was signed between India and Pakistan in the year 1960. Okay. Now we are going to discuss second important river, that is the Ganga river system. Okay. The Ganga river system, the headwaters of Ganga called Bhagirathi and Alagananda. So these are the two small streams at the beginning. These are the headwaters. Okay. That in the beginning, at the start, there are two streams are there. The two streams are Bhagirathi and Alagananda. And they are joined together at Uttarakhand. Okay. Uttarakhand is one of the states in India. Okay. Again, we know that river Ganga has plenty of tributaries. We have already studied what are tributaries. The small rivers that join, or those small rivers or streams that joins the main river. That is known as tributaries. Like that, the Ganga also have plenty of tributaries. Like Yamuna, Gagra, Kosi, etc. are the important tributaries. Again, we know that the most important tributary of river Ganga is Yamuna. Okay, Yamuna river rises in Yamunotri glacier. It is a part of Himalaya. It rises in Yamunotri glacier and meets Ganga at Allahabad. You might have heard about Allahabad, isn't it? See, Ganga and Yamuna joins at Allahabad. Okay. Again, we know that it has many peninsular tributaries like Chambal. This Chambal is the name of a river, peninsular river. Betwa and Son are the important peninsular rivers, peninsular tributaries. Again, another thing is that river Ganga flows towards West Bengal. In West Bengal, there is a place at Farakka. Farakka is the name of a place in West Bengal. There, the river Ganga bifurcates. What's meant by bifurcates? It branched off. Up to Farakka, it was a single river. Then, when the river reaches Farakka, it branched off. It becomes two. It separates into two. Okay? One branch flows towards Bay of Bengal, and the other branch flows towards Bangladesh. Bangladesh, we know that our neighboring country. Understood? One branch of Bangladesh flows towards Bay of Bengal, and the other branch flows towards Bangladesh, where it is joined with the river Brahmaputra. another Himalayan river. Okay, there it gets a new name that is known as Meghna. Okay, river Ganga and Brahmaputra joins together in Bangladesh. There, these rivers get a new name that is known as Meghna. Okay. Again, we might have studied about the Sundarban Delta, the largest delta in the world. The Sundarban Delta is formed by Ganga and Brahmaputra. Okay? The length of Ganga river is 2,500 kilometers, can be asked. What is the length of river Ganga? 2,500 kilometers. Okay, these are the important things about river Ganga. Okay, the headwaters of Ganga is known as Alakananda and Bhagirathi. And then both the headwaters or both the streams join together at Uttarakhand. Again, we have seen that it has the river Ganga has many tributaries like Yamuna, Gagra, Kosi, etc. The important tributaries. Again, we know that Yamuna, we know that one branch of Yamuna, so Delhi or Agra is situated by the side of river Yamuna. You might have seen the river Yamuna, isn't it? Okay, the river Yamuna rises in the Yamunotri glacier, then meets Ganga at Allahabad. Okay, again we have seen that at Farakka, the river Ganga bifurcates. But in the bifurcates, it is branched off. One branch goes to Bay of Bengal, and other branch goes to Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, what happens? What is happening? The river Ganga is joined with another Himalayan river, Bangladesh. It is known as Brahmaputra. Then it gets a new name, that is Meghna. Again, the largest delta, Sundarban Delta, is formed by river Ganga and Brahmaputra. Okay. Then the length of river Ganga is 2,500 kilometers. Okay, children, it is so clear. We have already discussed about river Indus and river Ganga. Okay, then one more Himalayan river is there. It is known as Brahmaputra. Okay, the river Brahmaputra rises in Tibet, east of Mansarovar Lake. Okay, we have already studied that river Indus rises in Tibet. Just like that, river Brahmaputra also rises in Tibet, east of Mansarovar Lake. Okay. Another important thing is that most of its course lies outside India. That means most parts of river Brahmaputra flows not through India but outside India. Okay. On reaching Nanga Barwa, that is the name of a place, Nanga Barwa, it takes a U-turn and it flows in the shape of U and enters Arunachal Pradesh. We know that Arunachal Pradesh is one of the northeastern states in India, where it is called Dihang. Okay? In Arunachal Pradesh, river Brahmaputra gets a new name, that is known as Dihang. It can be asked, what is the name of river Brahmaputra in Arunachal Pradesh? Okay, it is known as Dihang river. Okay. Then, in Tibet, the river Brahmaputra carries only smaller volume of water, because it flows through cold and dry season. We know Tibet, it is a Himalayan country, it does not receive that much rainfall. So that is why when it starts in Tibet, it carries only a small volume of water. But when it enters India, it has plenty of water. Okay. When it reaches India, it carries a large volume of water as Brahmaputra flows through heavy rainfall areas. That means Assam, northeastern states. Okay, most of the northeastern states receive very heavy rainfall. So when Brahmaputra enters India, Brahmaputra carries heavy water. Okay, a large volume of water. It can be asked. It can be asked for 3 marks. Why river Brahmaputra carries less volume of water in Tibet and large volume of water in India? The reason is that in Tibet, river Brahmaputra flows through dry and cold region. But when it reaches India, it flows through heavy rainfall areas. Again, you know that another important thing about river Brahmaputra is that every year river Brahmaputra causes flood in Assam and Bangladesh. So we might have seen many refugees are coming to Indian states asking for help. Okay, so causing a lot of destruction to life and property. Okay, these are the three important things. These are the important things we learned about the Himalayan rivers. Okay, once again I will tell you about the Brahmaputra river system. The river Brahmaputra rises in Tibet, east of Mansarovar Lake. Again, most of its course lies outside India. Again, when Brahmaputra reaches Nangabarwa, it takes a U-turn and enters Arunachal Pradesh. There we get a new name, that is Digha. Okay. Again, another thing we have discussed, in Tibet the river Brahmaputra carries less volume of water, and in India, while it enters India, it carries large volume of water. We have discussed the important reasons. Okay. Again, another thing is that every year the river Brahmaputra causes flood in Assam as well as Bangladesh and causes a lot of destruction to life and property. Okay, these are some of the things we learned in this chapter. Okay, now in the next class we study about the peninsular rivers. So now we already studied about the Himalayan rivers. Okay, then we have seen what is meant by drainage. Drainage means the river system of an area. Okay, now I request everyone to read the textbook. So I will be giving the question answers, teaching notes along with this. So you have to copy down these notes in your copy, and you need to learn it. Okay, thank you.
Ini